bit late for our midweek devotion. I got lost track of time. What can I say? But we're going to get it to you anyway. It's focused on a passage from Romans. This is Romans 12, verse 3. Because of the grace that God gave me, I can say to each one of you, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought to think. Instead, be reasonable, since God has measured out a portion of faith to each one of you. I think the term du jour is imposter syndrome, that nagging feeling like someone somewhere will find out and prove that you aren't smart, aren't successful, aren't good, aren't enough. It's that latent feeling like you're an imposter in your life, whether it's at work, your family, I don't know, the slow pitch softball team you play for. Setting aside how our culture's propensity to turn things into a syndrome lessens the power of when someone actually has mental health issues, I think it's safe to say all of us feel like an imposter at some point in some avenue of our lives. Whether it's baking our way through parenting or preaching or cooking or whatever. Sometimes we feel like we're just making it up as we go. There's no need for Paul's injunction, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, because many of us don't think highly of ourselves at all. Instead, we're just floating our way down the river of life, hoping the shoddy constructed raft that we slapped together won't capsize. Of course, we do meet people who don't fit this bill, people who think their poop doesn't stink, people who might not see themselves high or the highest, but certainly have others they look down upon, those people. People who, when the rubber meets the road, want special treatment when it comes to rules and laws and obligations. It's okay, officer, that I was speeding. There's a good important. People who want life to be fair. That usually means that they get a nice big old piece of pie because they deserve it. Raise your hand if any of those apply to you. Author sheepishly raises his hand. That's what Paul was getting at in the first part in the letter to the Romans. He spent chapter after chapter laying out the theological groundwork to get here where he can start telling Romans, and you and me, how we ought to live. Because every last one of us has been saved through Christ's work on our behalf. Instead of anything that we have done, there is no basis for comparing ourselves to other people. Don't think too highly of yourself is another way of saying don't view yourself as better than anybody else. Augustine once said, if you ask me what the essential thing in religion and discipline of Jesus Christ is, I shall reply, first, humility. Second, humility. Third, humility. This isn't to say you have to try to be humble. The truth is life will humble you one way or another, when you feel like an imposter. But when it does, when you've been brought low, when you're at the end of your rope, you'll see Christ is there with you, ready to raise you up as he has been raised. Thanks for joining me for this week's devotion. I hope you heard a word of grace. If you like what you heard, please like and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. You're invited to join us for worship on Sunday morning. We gather at 10:30 in person and here online. But if not, benediction is the same as always. God be with you.